Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Playing On podcast. My name is Markowski, and thank you guys for joining me. Thank you. If you hear that little ambient buzz in the background, that's a heater because my basement is cold because it's December and it's getting cold in Ohio. And I have some tea and some apple cider vinegar. Make me feel better. Been kind of feeling like crap lately. Sorry I've been gone for so long with the holidays and family. Just trying to get everything in line. But before we get into the episode, a quick thank you to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Dr. Paintball, and we've been doing a lot of stuff together with Dr. Paintball, and we wanted to do something special for the listeners. And all of the Playing On podcast listeners now, if you put in the promo code PLAYON, that's PLAYON, at checkout at drpaintball.com, with whatever order that you put in, you will get a free bonus gift. I don't even know what the gift is, but it's a free bonus gift. But it's going to be pretty cool. So make sure you head over there, drpaintball.com, and check out all their goodies. They have new and used gear, along with they have something special coming in for, I believe, next year. They're doing some kind of like, I don't know if you would call it a sponsorship thing, but you got to check it out. The more information they give me, I will make sure to give you guys. But like I said, use promo code PLAYON at checkout, and you will get a free bonus gift when you buy anything off of the website drpaintball.com. We are also brought to you by Charm City Paintball, and we have been collaborating as well and been making pack bands. You can find them over at my Facebook page at Carl Microwave Markowski. And I don't think he has any up on his. He might, but you can find him also at Charm City Paintball on Facebook. But he has all kinds of head wraps, headbands, all kinds of cool stuff, and it's all high quality. It's all limited runs. So make sure you give him a check out. It is Charm City Paintball on Facebook as well as Instagram. So thank you to Charm City. Also brought to you by Carbon, and very cool what Carbon is doing. They've been putting out some new gear, a new CC line just underneath the SC line that has gloves, pants, jersey. We also started making some thermal pods that change color when they get too hot. They start turning white, and so you know how to change out your paint during tournaments or anything, so you don't keep too much paint on your back for too long. But also have a backpack coming out, a gear bag hopefully coming out soon, all kinds of cool stuff. Make sure you check it out. Also, if you use the promo code capital TPOP at checkout, you will get 10% off your entire order at Carbon Paintball. So that's pretty cool. So thank you to Carbon. And last but not least, thank you to Planet Eclipse, who have come out with the coolest mechanical frame for the G-Tech. I have not yet got my hands on. Well, actually, I did shoot one, but I don't have one yet. But you got to check it out, man. This thing is awesome. It shoots so smooth. I'm hyper about it because I can't shoot an autococker to save my life. And I know there's a bunch of old school guys that are like, oh, man, you came up in that era. Well, yeah, I did, but I just could not shoot an autococker. For some reason, I just couldn't shoot one. But there's no way for you to short stroke this mechanical frame that Planet Eclipse came out with, and I'm digging it, man. I can't wait to play mechanical tournaments with it. But check that out along with all kinds of cool gear over at planeteclipse.com. So that is all of the sponsors. But anyway, this episode I wanted to release more around Veterans Day. Just because it's with my grandfather on my mother's side, who was in the Vietnam War, and he was a radio operator in Vietnam. And I kind of wanted to do this for all the military guys that listen, and all the veterans out there, just because, you know, there's a whole nother story side of it. Like my grandfather, he doesn't really know too much about paintball, but I'm he supports me, and the same thing, like I'm totally interested in how he came up in the whole, he was a bigger family. I ended up going to the military, played football, and how that came about. And I just wanted to do kind of a Veterans Day episode. I know it's late, but here it is. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and hope you enjoy. Well, Grandpa, thank you for sitting down with me.
You're quite welcome.
I've wanted to do this Veterans Day, but I'm a little behind. But no, I just wanted to kind of talk to you because I grew up. And I think a lot of people do this: is they grow up in a certain time period of when I was young and curious, and I was wanting to know things, but my direction wasn't going to my grandparents or anything and learning their story or anything like that. It wasn't until later in my life, until I started kind of having a story of my own, of when I started becoming more and more curious of everybody else's story, right? And I wish I would have, with great grandma and I wish I would have talked to them more about everything, And that's kind of why I wanted to sit down with you, is just because, we never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Correct.
Right? And I want to take advantage of every little minute that I have, especially with family, and be able to just sit and bullshit and just talk about anything. And you are a Vietnam vet. Correct. And you've lived in Ohio your entire life?
No, I moved to Kentucky for 6 years.
That's right. Yeah. See, I'm already behind. Yeah. So let's start. Let's go all the way back when you were young. Were you born in Toledo?
Riverside Hospital, which is now closed.
I drive by all the time, and it's creepy.
They're on Interstate 280.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been there. You were born in 45. 45. I asked Mom how old you were a second.
72.
Yeah, it's crazy thinking about it, because to me you look the same. You've always looked the same to me.
And a lot more wrinkles than I used to have.
A couple. But yeah, I drive by that all the time, and I see that hospital. It's just I don't know what they want to do with it. I don't know if they're restoring it or what they're doing.
Yeah, you think they'd do something with it.
Yeah,
but it's an old hospital. You figure if I was born there in 45, and it was there a long time before I was there.
Yeah. So, and you grew up in the house over on Valleywood?
Yeah. Started out on Forsyth, but I don't remember it. Mom said that they had a house on Forsyth, but I don't remember that. All I remember is Valleywood.
And you're the youngest or mid?
Bobby's the youngest. Then Shelly's the next, and then Sam, Donnie, then myself, then Darlene, Norma, Arnie, and Howard.
Why do you think people back then had so many kids?
No TV.
The entertainment.
I don't know. It was great growing up in a large family. I'm glad I did. I mean, we fought all the time with one another, but if somebody messed with you from the outside, then they had 9 kids that they had to
a gang with. Pretty much to deal with.
Yeah, but and we grew up, we're all very close, and it's really neat growing up in a large family.
Yeah. What would you say that your financial status? I mean, were you middle class?
Poor.
Poor?
Mm-hmm. I had 1 pair of pants and 2 shirts when I went to high school.
Really?
Yeah.
1 pair of shoes? Or how were they shared? Were any shoes or clothes shared?
No. Well, a lot of times you wore hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
And like when I earned my first varsity letter, Arnie had already graduated from high school and they had already gotten him a varsity jacket. Mm-hmm. They pulled his letter off and sewed my varsity letter on his jacket. So I had hand-me-down varsity jacket.
Yeah. So, growing up back then, was there a lot of family things that the whole family went to? I mean, was it, because now I think about it, and like the Cowell family reunion or even the Lammy family reunion, it's just not even there anymore.
Right.
I mean, there is some Cowell, Christmases and things like that, but it's not anything like I remember when I was younger, of just the hordes of people that would get together. And it's kind of sad, that nobody really gets together as often as I feel like they used to.
Yeah, because we had family reunions out at my Uncle Homer's house in Holland, Ohio. And there's times that Dad got ponies from Clint Mittendorf in Pearson Park, and we took ponies out there to Uncle Homer's house, and we got to ride the ponies and had big cookouts. And somewhere along the line, the brothers started not getting along, Dad and his brothers, and everything just kind of diminished, and we didn't have the big family reunions anymore. But that used to be a ball.
Now, was great grandpa and grandma, were they from Ohio, or did they come from
my parents?
Yeah.
Dad grew up on Dearborn.
Really?
Yeah. You know where the pizza place is on Star Avenue in Dearborn, on that, or the
Bambinos, right? That's right there. Or it was Bambinos, or I don't know.
There was a little pizza place that used to be Gettings gas station.
But it was that corner.
Yeah, right on that corner. There's a pharmacy there now, and then right next to it, there's a drive-through type thing. It used to be Gettings gas station, and then about 3 doors down from that on Dearborn, heading toward my sister Norma's house, is where my dad grew up. I'm not sure where my mom grew up.
No. Yeah, I always think about that, like, because I know on my dad's side, it wasn't, but I think great grandparents came over from Hungary.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and somewhere along the lines, Poland, with the last name. So,
I know my mom's parents started out in Indiana. My grandfather was a railroader. Her dad.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what our heritage is. I've never looked it up.
Yeah. Tiff was talking to me about. She wants to get this, like, I don't know. It's like it's not. It is kind of, I guess, a DNA test. But it's just figuring out not your ethnicity, but what is your heritage.
Your heritage,
pretty
yeah.
much. And she wanted to do that. And I'm kind of curious too. I mean, I know that side, but I mean, I feel like in some weird way everybody is from everywhere, just because of how many, how many branches are in the tree. Going back to your childhood and all the brothers and sisters, did you all attend the same school?
We all went to Raymer, and then we all went to Wade High School.
Everybody went to Wade. I think. Well, and then Mom went to Wade, and then I went to Wade. I don't know if Tiff's gonna let Cooper go to Wade now, the way it is right now.
Yeah.
So growing up in middle school and grade school, did you play sports? Was everybody in sports, or was everybody kind of doing something else?
Arnie played football. I played football, wrestled, ran track. Donnie didn't play. Sam played football. Bob didn't play. Of course, Howard didn't play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started playing over on the side of Raymer School probably when I was about 6 years old. You played with the big boys.
Yeah.
You got knocked down and you got hurt. You just got up and got back in there and went back at it again.
I feel like there's another kind of sign of the times with all the overprotection of everything.
Yeah.
And talking about football, I think I forget who I was talking to about it with, but it was like they're making everything so much safer, and I feel like it's making everything or everybody who's playing the sport that much more eager to hit harder or more illegal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But back then you couldn't do that because I mean you could hit somebody hard, but you had to know how to hit them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think it's just like with any sport, with hockey, or and you had to be more finesse because the equipment wasn't up to date, or
Right.
it was up to the date of then. But you know, you had to figure ways around it. And with football, you just had. I mean, were you wearing a leather helmet at the time?
We started out with leather helmet, yeah. Started out with leather helmet, and a kid by the name of Jimmy Sadlack and I were playing freshman football. He was a ball carrier, I was a defender. He went low, I went low. We cracked heads with our leather helmets, and we snapped the chin straps. Both buttons on both helmets came off. We hit so hard.
Yeah.
And Mr. Wilhelm was the equipment manager at that time, also a teacher. And he said, if you guys are going to hit like that, he says, come with me. And we were the first freshmen to get Cryolite helmets.
Really?
Yeah. We were the only two freshmen with varsity helmets.
And then you were cracking everybody else's head with a...
Yeah. We were taught that when you're running back, you hit the line 3 yards, tuck down. If you don't feel any resistance, look up and look for daylight. Mm-hmm. And that's the way we were taught to run.
See, I feel like it's different now. Everybody's heads up all the time, looking for a hole or looking for something to go around. Nobody's, I mean, like a fullback. You know, the small amount of football that I watch now, I feel like there's no fullback at all in the game.
No.
And that's what it used to be. But I mean, it felt like back then, at least some of the footage that I've seen, a lot of it was like 90% running.
Yeah.
And maybe 10% passing or something like that. And now it's just completely, I think, like flipped.
Yeah, it was all running back in the day.
Yeah. Was, at this time, let's see, were any of your brothers or sisters or any of your brothers in the military or going into the military? Or how did the military influence you or come to you?
I couldn't get along with Mom and Dad, so I went in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, we were fighting a lot. And after I went in, Donnie went into the Army and Sam went into the Army. We were all three in Vietnam at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, three brothers in Vietnam all at the same time.
Was that the only option that you kind of told yourself at that time was, well, you know, if I'm not getting along with my parents, I'm going to join the military? Or did you ever think about maybe like moving out west or?
No. Toledo was my roots, and I had no clue what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. I had no goals. Mm-hmm. It was just go in the military, and I liked the Marine Corps. I liked their uniforms. I liked the discipline, and so that's why I decided to go in the Marine Corps.
Did they recruit like they did now back then with people coming to the high schools and having like recruitment offices and whatnot?
Yeah.
I mean, I almost went to the military. I was thinking about it after high school. It was either move to Seattle or, and go after my paintball career or go to college, go to Tiffin University, a smaller college,
right,
or join the military. And I told my mom if I joined the military, I wanted to join the Marines because you were in it and my real dad was in it. And I really felt like just going down that path. And she wasn't a big fan of that, especially joining the Marines. Nothing against them. I think they're the baddest ones on the planet.
I really think everybody should have to go in the military as soon as they get out of high school. Do 2-3 years in any branch of service that they choose, because you learn so much respect, and we wouldn't have the disrespect we have today with people. The discipline, you're being told when to eat, when to go to the bathroom, when to sleep, and
you're being forced to schedule.
Yeah, you're forced to do that, and then you get out and then you realize how much freedom you do have once you're out of the military. But you learn a lot of respect for other people, and to give you an example. You're told to say sir. The first word out of your mouth is sir. Sir this, sir that, whatever it may be. We were at a swimming pool, jumping off a 3-meter board with full gear. You had to go in 10 foot of water, go down, release all your gear, and come up and swim to the side. And one kid went in, come up, was drowning. And it was, "Sir, help, sir, help." First word out of his mouth was "sir." It was crazy. But it was, "Sir, help, sir, help." And you learn that discipline.
Yeah.
When I was coaching football, the kids picked up on that, the military status that I was, and they were calling me "sir." And one parent come down to the field and said, "What are you doing to my child?" I was, "We're trying to teach him football, respect." He said, "He's sitting at the table last night and excuse me, and we asked him, 'Do you want more potatoes?' He says, 'Yes, sir.' His mother asked, 'Do you want some dessert?' 'Yes, ma'am.' He says, 'My kid doesn't do that.'" And he took from the football field, he took that home. And it just surprised the hell out of their parents, because he's going, "Yes, ma'am," "No, sir," "Yes, sir." And I thought that was pretty cool that the kids picked up on that.
Oh, yeah. It makes you feel good.
Yeah, it does make you feel good. The kids went home and started showing respect to their parents. I thought that was really cool.
Well, and I think anybody in a position of where they're looked up to, or they're looked to for guidance, I think has a giant responsibility on their shoulders. No matter if you're a t-ball coach, if you're a high school coach, if you're a parent. I mean, that child, that little person is looking up to you for direction, and if you give them that direction, you have kids and grandkids, and you know that they are constantly learning and constantly looking to be pointed in a direction, and in any way possible, if you can help direct them in the right ways, it's tremendous.
Yeah, see, with the single parents that you have today, whether it be a single dad, single mom, both parents working all the time, kids are home alone, where if they would get that military experience and learn that discipline, I think they'd be a heck of a lot better off, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, how's a parent going to discipline you at home when dad's working a job, mom's working a job? You're lucky if you sit down and have supper together. It's not a good situation.
No, and I think what attributes to that is the internet itself. I feel, and having the devices in our hands and that instant gratification of social media, and you don't have any of that, so you're seeing it from an outsider's perspective, but everybody's doing it. You know what I mean? So you're seeing everybody do it, and me, because I have all the social medias and everything, I don't have them all. I have some that I like to do. I catch myself at times just mindlessly scrolling sometimes, like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not producing anything. I'm not learning anything. I'm just looking for a quick, oh, hey, I like that. That's cool. Okay, I'll comment on this, do whatever. It's not, I'm not learning anything. I'm not producing anything. And I really try with my social medias of what I do is I try and take more pictures, enjoy the moment more, share the moment more, and instead of, all the other stuff that everybody else is doing of just trying to get their point across or trying to get their 2 cents in. I don't like doing that. I like creating content for people to enjoy, like doing stuff like this. People, have car rides and are at work doing, sometimes mindless things, and if they can tune into this and kind of get insight or information or just enjoy the conversation, I feel like that's my 2 cents, but I'm not pushing it on anybody. It's informative. And about the whole military thing, I've heard that from multiple people. I've heard that from my stepdad, Chris, and from a few other people who have been in the military, have said that, some people everyone out of high school should go right to the military to get that, if they're not getting it from home, to get that kind of disciplinary, those actions set into place. And I think I'm 50-50 about it, just for the simple fact that I feel like if it were like that, I don't think we would have the artists that we have, or the musicians, because everybody has such a different path, right? And it's those paths create our character and create who we are. And if everybody were to go to the military, everybody would have that same path. But if everybody didn't go to the military or you didn't have one, it would be chaos.
Well, like I say, if it was even if it was a 1 year stint, 2 year stint,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's not like you. Mine was 3 years, but I think the standard is 4 years. And you know, I'm not saying to send them for 4 years,
right?
But, you know, and not go to combat, but just go through. Well, even just to go through the basic training, you know, you learn a lot in basic training. Mm-hmm. They also you learn the use of a firearm, the proper use of a firearm,
which is a huge deal nowadays.
Yeah, and you learn how to use it safely,
mm-hmm.
and you know, you learn not to point it at somebody, and you know, every
Unless
gun
you
you put in your hands, as far as you're concerned, it's loaded
mm-hmm.
until you find out that it's not unloaded or
yeah.
that it's not loaded. And I've taught my kids, even Carrie and Vicky, when we were down in Kentucky, I taught them, you know, proper gun use. And I went hunting with Vicky, your mom, and one of the safest hunters I ever went with. Mm-hmm. Never pointed a gun at me. And we went deer hunting, and she's probably 12 years old, 13 years old, something like that. One of the safest hunters I ever been with.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Well, I think the biggest thing nowadays, my grandpa lives right next to train tracks, so that's probably what you're going to hear. I don't know how he does it, because it would drive me nuts. But I think one of the biggest things right now is happening is this whole firearms debate. Mm-hmm. And I carry a firearm. I don't have it with me now. Mm-hmm. I normally have it on me all the time. But I think the biggest thing is that when somebody has never been informed about a firearm, or has never fired a firearm, or been around them, I think people are scared.
Oh yeah.
You know, and they hear the word gun, and you know, it's like, for me, for paintball, what I'm trying to do is, instead of people saying, well, my paintball gun, this and that, like, just say, because we're trying to hit it mainstream with paintball. It's still not big, and I'm trying to ease it into the mainstream, and I keep trying to say, let's say paintball marker, you know, because that's what it is. Yeah. It's not as scary when you say it, because just the word gun, it makes people uneasy. But people are so afraid of it, and I think that's the thing, is when they hear all these shootings and everything that's happening, it's like, if something was going down and I had my pistol on me, I would make sure that it did not get out of hand. I mean, I've never been in a situation like that, mm-hmm. but you carry a firearm for the maybes, the just in cases, mm-hmm. right? You don't. I carry it. What's the saying that I say? It's I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Right.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And for everybody that's just so against them, I can kind of see it, but you know, I protect myself. You know, I try not to be put in those situations. It's not like we're looking for trouble or situations to be in. I want to protect myself and my family.
Well, I've got a 9mm that sits on the nightstand at night.
That's what I have, yeah.
And my closest neighbor is a quarter mile away, either direction.
Yeah, you're far. You're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm out here on 4 acres, out in the middle of nowhere, and if somebody could kick my door in the middle of the night, and the dog will alert me, and mm-hmm. Because I sleep like a rock. I hear nothing, but yeah. But he gives off blood curdling barks, and mm-hmm. that wakes me up, and I'd be able to defend myself. If I didn't have a weapon, I'd be toast.
Yeah.
And how many shootings have you heard of where, what was it, out in Waterville, where that couple got killed, and they tied and gagged them, they raped the mother, they raped the daughter, and then they end up shooting them.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy. And I hear people say, I don't care what, I would never shoot somebody else. They would die before they would shoot someone
else. That makes zero sense to me.
I don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to live.
Yeah.
I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to have my head banged in with a hammer or a club, mm-hmm. or I don't want to be shot.
Yeah. Oh, if it's going to be me or you, it's going to be you.
It's going to be you. Yeah. It ain't going to be me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I hope, you know, knock on wood, that I'm never in a situation like that. But why you would not want to protect yourself or be protected,
or your children,
or your children,
family, you know, your wife, your husband, your kids. Mm-hmm. You know, are you going to stand there and watch your kids be murdered because you can't pull the trigger? I don't understand that. That's beyond my comprehension.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's like, well, the odds aren't there that it's going to happen to you. You're more likely to hit the lottery and this and that. I was like, okay, I can see that. But at any given point, somebody with their car could be like, I don't feel like living anymore. And on a country road or any road, fly head on to the person in front of them just because they want to. I mean, is that unlucky? Are you unlucky at that point, or is it just happenstance that it, So at any given point, something could happen. So,
how many programs did you see on TV where people had a tragic situation? They said, "This doesn't happen to us. This happens to other people."
Yeah.
Well, you could be that other people.
It's like a house fire.
Same thing. Yeah.
It's the same thing. If at any point. Sometimes, I don't know, it's kind of weird to say, but sometimes just because it's so unknown, like sometimes I'll drive, I'll be with the family and we'll be coming home, and sometimes I feel like I'll come home and the house will be on fire. Yeah. Just because you don't know, because anything could happen, and it's like I guess I'm saying it like I wouldn't be surprised if it did, because anything can happen. If that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, that's, and then not to go too deep into a rabbit hole, but this whole Las Vegas shooting thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how big you are into conspiracy theories or anything like that, but I like having all the information.
Yeah.
And I know that the news isn't going to give us all the information, and I know that the internet isn't going to give us all the information, and not all the information is going to be right on both ends. So I can't say whether or not everything is guaranteed and true of what it is or what we're told. But a lot of it, and a lot of the things that have happened, you gotta look at from a couple of different angles. Like, okay, all right, did that guy do it on his own, and how did he get everything up there? And there's just a lot of questions, right?
I can give you an example. Lee Harvey Oswald, assassination of John F. Kennedy,
which he's releasing. Trump is releasing all the
and
papers.
I was coming out of the Chow Hall. I was in boot camp. Coming out of the Chow Hall.
What year was this? 45?
1963.
I'm thinking of when you got in. Yeah.
I think it was November of '63 that he was shot, if I'm not mistaken. And Lee Harvey Oswald, the Warren Commission report says Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone shooter. Lee Harvey was in the Marine Corps. Lee Harvey was a marksman. If I sat here and took my pistol and shot at that wall and hit it somewhere, I get scored as a marksman. Mm-hmm. I can hit that corner somewhere. There's a bullseye on the wall, but if I hit that target somewhere, I'm a marksman.
At least to the standards back then.
Yeah, and you shoot from 2, 3, and 500 yards with the M14 rifle. Mm-hmm. The next step up is a sharpshooter. You have to start hitting the bullseye as a sharpshooter. Then there's an expert. I shot expert 3 times. 250 points maximum that you can accumulate. I shot 242, 243, and 243. And that's shooting from 200, 300, and 500 yards with an M14 rifle. To this day, I cannot hit a moving target. Lee Harvey Oswald, who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a rifle, and a bold action at that, hit the president in a moving vehicle. I don't buy it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just too far-fetched.
With 2 shots.
With 2 shots.
Yeah, because the first one hit his neck.
Yeah.
Or something. It hit his neck and went through, and the second one hit him in the head.
And then they showed that the president, I've seen video on it where the back of the president's head was blown out. And a bullet hole entering the front of the forehead and exiting the back.
Right.
Now, if Lee Harvey Oswald was shooting from behind, how did the explosion come out of the back of his head? Anybody that knows anything about ammunitions, weapons, knows that.
Ballistics, anything, yeah.
Ballistic, a small hole entry, large hole coming out.
Yeah. So
somehow he got the bullet to come around to the front and go through his forehead and out the back of his head. So, yeah, I believe in conspiracy.
When I heard that he was getting, when he was releasing all those, I was very, very interested in that.
Yeah, I am too.
And, because the whole thing, I feel like they were so quick to point the blame, too, on Lee Harvey. And, I don't know. Just not right.
So that's my biggest belief, that there's no way in hell that he could have made that shot, just because I know Marine Corps standards.
Right.
And I know what a marksman is. I know what a sharpshooter is. I know what an expert. I was invited when I was over in Okinawa. I was invited to come back to Camp Perry and shoot with the Marine rifle team.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I decided to go on and float, and we ended up in the coastal waters of Vietnam instead. But I had a chance to come back.
Let's go back to that when you voluntarily enlisted.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that experience like? What was did you get right into boot camp? Did you what was that whole experience like in the beginning?
Well, you sign up, and a friend of mine, Terry Hager, and I signed up together, and it's called the buddy system. You were guaranteed that you would go through boot camp together. And I think your first duty station, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. But I had an incident in boot camp where I kind of got separated. I got thrown in the brig for 7 days.
Yeah?
Yeah. For fighting.
I was going to say, was it a fight?
It was fighting, yeah. I got attacked in the shower, and I fought back, and both of us ended up going to the brig for 7 days. So he moved on, and I got dropped back 2 weeks. Got on the bus in San Diego, went to Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego, California, and the sergeant come into the airport, and who's all going to Marine Corps? I ain't going. Oh, come on, you guys, we'll get on the bus, and we'll take you we'll get you started, and just nonchalant. No, over to Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego. Camp Pendleton is advanced training and permanent base.
That's right. They have a paintball field up there. That's the only reason I know.
So they're just the sergeant, just as cordial as can be.
Yeah.
And then the doors shut on the bus. He wasn't cordial anymore.
Yeah.
He called us everything but white people. So I looked at him, and he looked at me, and the kid I went in with, what did we get into? I said, man, I don't know. And you get off at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, you get off the bus, you stand on little feet painted on the ground, with about the front guy and the back guy is about this far apart. Mm-hmm. And you go in and get your hair cut. It takes you about 3 seconds to get a haircut.
I would say you sit down and you get right back up.
Yeah, just zip, 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 and you're done. Get your uniforms, and all hell breaks loose from that time on.
So is it from there? Is it pretty much just day and night doing drills? And I've seen some stuff on it because it's always been curious to me because I'm actually the first generation now of the family that hasn't gone to the military, which sucks because I want to continue it, but at the same time I feel like my path is a little bit different. But when and how far into it were you until you got the news that you were going to Vietnam?
About the second year I was in. When you get into boot camp, they give you a bright yellow Marine Corps USMC T-shirts, and your uniforms are bright green. They haven't been washed. Your utility uniforms aren't been washed yet. Your boots are all scuffy. They're not spit shine. Mm-hmm. They end up pulling your hat down over your head and over your ears. You look like a dork. And then units that had been in there's 12 weeks of boot camp, and units that had been in 5, 6, 7 weeks come marching by, and they're just sharp and all right together. Mm-hmm. And the drill instructor is calling cadence, and you're
trying to find your rhythm.
Dooping down the road with this hat that's down over your ears. You look like a dork, and you're going, man, I'll never be like that. Mm-hmm. But they whip you into shape. And I was fortunate. I got invited to a drill instructor's home after I got out of boot camp, and they explained why they do what they do. He says, if you ever end up in combat, you'll see why we do what we do to you guys in boot camp. Mm-hmm. And it saved my life.
Yeah, I've seen that a bunch of where they tear you down and build you back up.
Again.
To build your character, to be able to make those right decisions mm-hmm. at the right moments, because it's not the individual over the group. It's the group over the individual. You want to look out for that group, and you need to make the decisions based on how to help the group survive.
Well, we're sitting in Da Nang, Vietnam, and we're in 12-man tent, and we got hit. I was there a month and 1 day. We got hit by 81 millimeter mortars, and we had just finished playing guitars about 11 o'clock at night. We were in the encampment. We were in a graveyard. It was our encampment. We was part of a perimeter defense for Da Nang Air Base. About 11:30 at night, one of our fellow Marines that was slept in that 12-man tent come running in and said, "Hit the deck. Hit the deck." That's all he said. 11 of us rolled out of our cots, and just as we rolled out of our cots, we took a direct hit in the corner of our tent. Not a single guy was injured. But you learn that do that. You don't stop to ask.
Yeah.
You just do what you're told to do now and save our lives. So it proved what the drill instructor said.
So what was it like after boot camp, and you find out that you're going over to Vietnam? What was it like getting on that plane? Or was it a plane or was it a boat?
Boat with 3,000 Marines.
How long was the boat ride?
30 days.
Wow.
A long trip.
What was that like?
A little seasick, not bad. When you fall asleep at night, you're not seasick anymore, and you wake up the next morning and you go, "Oh, I'm on board a ship." Then all of a sudden, seasickness sets in.
Yeah.
I served mess duty for 30 days, so I went in about 4 o'clock in the morning. We served breakfast. By the time you got all cleaned up after breakfast, it was time to serve lunch. Then it was time to serve supper. Then it was time to go to bed and get back up 4 o'clock in the morning, start all over again.
So you landed in Vietnam.
Da Nang, Vietnam.
Da Nang, and was everything where you landed? Was it already settled and
secured? Yeah,
secured. And you said you were over there for about a month.
Pardon me?
How long were you over there for?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
And besides the mortar fire, did you see any combat or?
We received machine gun fire. We were part of a perimeter defense. We were 10 miles out, if I recall, and there was villages all in between. There was Marines that surround the air base a mile out, 3 miles out, 7 miles out, 10 miles out. So it was just a kind of a semicircle.
Right.
But there was villages in between, and we drew machine gun fire from the villages. And before we could fire upon the enemy, we had a bunker, and I was in tanks. We had a bunker, then we dug a tank into the ground so it could traverse down into a ravine.
Really?
And then another bunker, another tank. Then there was another unit of anti-tanks, and then on our other side coming around was amphibious tractors. We was on a finger coming out from Hill 327 in Da Nang, and there was 3 fingers, and we were on the center finger, so there were draws in between the fingers coming out. And the whole finger was covered by anti-tanks, tanks, and amphibious tractors. And to fire our weapons out of that bunker, you had a crank telephone called a double E8, and you called the switchboard. We actually had a switchboard in our encampment, and all the phones were connected from all the bunkers into that switchboard. Switchboard got a hold of the corporal of the guard. Corporal of the guard got a hold of sergeant of the guard. Sergeant of the guard got a hold of the officer of the day. Officer of the day would get a hold of the commander of your unit. Commander of the unit would call 3rd Marine Division headquarters to see if there's any friendly troops in the area.
To fire the first bullet.
To fire the first bullet. And this is all the time you're being attacked.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the tank gunner has a rangefinder inside the tank turret, and he can, with a radar signal, shoot a signal out to a tree. It comes back and says the tree's at 100 yards. That rock is at 25 yards, whatever. And he would plot this on a map so that within the first round he can pretty much hit what he's looking at first time.
Because back then, I mean, and we're talking about 65.
65.
So there's no, it's very basic.
Very basic.
Military, I mean, were there even computers being used, or was it, I mean, very minimal?
No.
It was more like not sonar, but
it was just a radar signal
yeah.
that they'd shoot out, and it would ping back.
And he had to physically map it out.
And actually map it out. Yeah, you would draw a picture of how far his tank turret could traverse.
Yeah.
And up and down, so forth. And we got hit with the 81 millimeter mortars. We lost some guys, died. A lot of guys got a whole lot of shrapnel in their backs and the back of their heads and their legs. And exactly...
In the back of their legs?
Yeah, because they got up and ran, which you're told never run while you're under a bomb attack.
Yeah.
You stay in one spot, cover your head, and
just...
But they... trying to think, I think it was just a couple of weeks after we got hit with 81 millimeter mortars. We got hit with probably 15, 20 machine guns out of a village.
Yeah.
And nobody called anybody.
Yeah.
You just let it fly. Because what had happened when we got mortared, one tank gunner saw the tube flashes from the mortars.
Yeah.
That's the one where they drop it in the tube and then turn away.
Yeah.
And you hear that little thump.
Yep.
Well, he saw it.
So he knew it was coming.
He knew where they were coming from. He spotted it probably about after the first 5 or 6 rounds hit. He spotted the tube flashes.
Yeah.
The sergeant, which was the tank commander, said, we can't fire until we go through the proper authorities.
While you're under fire.
While we're under fire. While we're getting guys killed.
Yeah.
So the gunner says, Sarge, I'm going to load, and I'm going to take these guys out. The sergeant pulled his pistol, put it to the back of his head, and said, if you fire this tank, he says, I will shoot you for disobedience of a lawful order in a combat zone. No, I swear to God, that's what happened.
And this is all inside of a tank.
Yeah.
While you're sitting there.
And we found out about it the next morning. And we locked and loaded our weapons and headed down. We heard that the sergeant was down at the commanding officer's tent. And the whole encampment locked and loaded. We was going to shoot him.
Yeah.
We was going to shoot him because we lost our friends. And there was about 21 MPs surrounded him. He had his sea bags all packed. They put him into a Jeep, several Jeep convoys, got him out of there because he was a dead man. We was going to kill him.
Yeah.
Because he let other people die. Because he was afraid to say, go ahead, and I'll worry about the consequences
because
later.
his repercussions were going... He was going to have to deal with the repercussions.
Yeah.
Not the guys who were actually going to follow through with...
Yeah. That was... I
don't understand the thinking. I can understand if there's friendlies there, but if you're in a direction and that's, I don't know. I mean, maybe
our friendlies wouldn't be shooting mortars at you.
Exactly.
They got into firefights. Now, actually, guys on different fingers actually got into firefights with one another.
Yeah.
Friendly to friendly firefights.
So, is there any way or any kind of indication that you would put out? Just like as maybe the firefight's going on or when you first hear the fires, is there, I mean, I don't know if it's military protocol or what it is exactly, like to throw some kind of a signal or do something to say, hey, this is us? And
No,
then if
they were so screwed up, so confused that they didn't really know what they were doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're kids.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you were...
Well, the troops know what they were doing.
Right.
The people in charge didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
You know, they were trying to be so proper, and like we would stand, you got what's called a CG inspection, a commanding general's inspection. And we had a commanding general come into a graveyard, and we're sleeping on tents, and hold what they call a junk on the bunk inspection, which is you have a book, a guidebook, and it tells you how to lay everything out. All your clothing is marked with your name. All your clothes has to be folded so your name shows, and your socks go here, and your jacket goes here, and your helmet or your hat goes here, and it all has to be laid out. And you had to make your cot up like a military bed, and then lay all these things out so this commanding general can come through and inspect us to see if you have all your shit together. And while he was walking through the camp, he kind of got shot at by some Viet Cong, and he took off, and we all stood there and laughed. He goes,
Because he's wearing all of his...
Yeah, you're an idiot. You know, we're on dirt ground, and you're holding the commanding general's inspection. Come on. You know, I mean, that's just, that's stupid shit.
Yeah.
That's just stupid stuff.
Well, that's why I don't understand, like, when something like that happens, like, what is going through somebody's head when you're doing an inspection and there's Viet Cong on the other side that are just getting ready to fire, but you want to make sure that everybody's cot is made up.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, they decided to get us off the dirt and get us up on platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So the graveyard sloped off like so. So
are you calling it graveyard because was it a physical graveyard?
Yeah. We were in a graveyard. That was our encampment. So they built a platform for the middle tents about a foot off the ground. And of course you don't want the tents to be going downhill, so you kept them all nice and level, nice and military-like.
Yeah. So
when you get out here and you're about less than 100 yards from the enemy, you were 6-7 feet up off the ground. You were a sitting duck.
Yeah.
But it looked military. Okay. So I paid to take guys. I was a radio operator, and we had a real deep bunker, all enclosed in sandbags and roof on it the whole 9 yards.
Now, did you want to be a radio operator?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I paid to sit guys' radio watch so I didn't have to sleep in my tent. I stayed underground all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them dummies sit up. They want to sit up 7 feet up off the ground and be a sitting duck, so be it, but not me.
Yeah, no thanks.
No.
So how long were you on the island before you seen combat?
1 month and 1 day. Exactly.
What time of the day was it? Was it the mortar
mortar
fire?
rounds.
That was the first time.
Yeah, we was only hit twice in 6 months. Is with the mortars and the machine gun fire. We never overran or anything like that.
No. I mean, did that kind of put things into perspective for you when you were there?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've seen pictures of other units where the Viet Cong had actually got into their camp, and a lot of dead bodies, and showed how they bury them. They just dig a big trench and throw all the bodies in the trench and cover it up.
So they did bury them, though?
Oh, yeah. Buried them right on the site, or outside their encampment. But they just took bulldozers and dug trenches, threw them in, then pushed the dirt over the top of them.
I mean, because I've heard stories. Because my father-in-law, his father was in Vietnam, and I forget what it's called, but they were doing. They were going out to D.C. and they get together every once in a while, and they all kind of. Just reminisce and get together. And he was talking to me that there's a guy that he sees all the time there, and he just opens up every time that he gets to the meeting, because it's other guys that are around that have been in the same situation. But whenever he goes home, he just doesn't talk about it, doesn't do anything. But I guess he was a POW, and he was in literally a bamboo cage. And I forget what he was saying, what was happening to him, but he had like shoots ran into his fingernails or something like that.
I'll tell you a story about kid come up and we had an enlisted man's club. It was a bamboo and then a thatched roof on it. Mm-hmm. We were allowed 2 beers a night. And one of the guys come up, and young kid, he was 18, I was 19 or 20. He said, I got to talk to you. And went up to the enlisted man's club. It was after hours. And he started crying. And I says, what the hell's going on? He says, I shot a baby today. He was out on patrol with the tanks, and he come under machine gun fire. So the tank fired back at a grass hut, which happened to be concrete reinforced. And it shot a second round at the concrete enforcement, and the Viet Cong come out with babies in their arms and spraying machine guns. He said, and they were running right at him. He says, what do I do? Do I stand there and let them shoot me because they got a baby in their arms, or do I shoot back? He shot back and killed the Viet Cong and the baby. It just tore his ass up. It just sat there and bawled like a baby. And back here in the United States at that time, they were calling servicemen in Vietnam baby killers. Now some guys, went wacko over there. There's no question about it. But nobody in my unit did that I seen while I was 6 months over there. Mm-hmm. Everybody was under control. But
everybody handles it differently.
Yeah.
I mean, combat is combat, no matter how you put it, whether it's hand to hand, whether it's far away. I can't imagine taking somebody's life in a situation like that, let alone a child's life or a baby's life. Because I've heard stories too where a platoon would be walking on a dirt road to woods or the forest or whatever, and they'd be walking by rice paddies and fields and whatnot, and there'd be workers, and the workers would look at them or whatever and see them, and then the next day they would go by and that worker would pull a machine gun out. Mm-hmm. And it's I can't imagine that surrounding, because it's like one day you're seeing all these people that you don't know whether or not they're the enemy, and then the next day they are or they're not, and they have, I think it's kind of the same thing that's happened or happening in Iraq and Afghanistan.
The same thing's happening.
The same thing. I mean, you're in the middle of their town, in their area, and they're all watching you. Then the next minute you see the guy you saw yesterday, and he's strapped with a bomb, and he runs at your tank or whatever, and it's just you don't know.
Well, they worked rice paddies right up to us within 50 feet of our compound. And then at the end of the day, they throw the hole over their shoulder and start pacing off how far it is to our fence line.
Did you see it happen physically?
Yeah, and that's how they set the mortars, because when they hit the tents, they hit every other tent. They didn't hit every single tent.
Yeah.
They just went every other, because when the mortar round goes off and it sprays out, if you hit the second tent, it's going to get the first and the third. The
shrapnel.
The shrapnel's going to come out and get the first and the third. So all they had to do is just hit every other.
And there's really nothing you can do. I mean,
no, there's nothing you can do.
See, there was such a big with Vietnam. There was such a big kickback in America with the war, and I mean, then there's everybody saying things like baby killer, but you're physically there and you're seeing what is actually happening and having to deal with that and really know what's going on, and
you get to the point where you don't care if you live or die.
Really?
You actually, yeah. Like we heard of what was going on stateside, and then I wasn't getting any letters from home.
You didn't feel the support?
No support. And then girlfriend sent me a Dear John, the whole 9 yards, and you finally just say screw it, When you smoke, you're supposed to cover your
cherry.
The cherry part of it, so because it could be seen up to a mile away, from what they say.
Yeah.
And hell, I was sitting on top of the bunker shooting me, you son of a bitch, and just cocky as hell and didn't give a shit, whatever. And then what's cool about it is I'm getting ready to leave, and I just got off of guard duty at night. We set guard duty into bunkers when I wasn't sitting radio watch. And the sergeant said, you need to go up on a work detail up the enlisted man's club. And I said, I just got off guard duty. I shouldn't have to go on a work detail. Mm-hmm. I was mad. He said, I'm telling you, get your ass up there to the club. So I went up there expecting I'm going to go on a work detail. And they took the tables and covered them in the blankets with our blankets. And we moved the whole 3rd Tank Battalion, mess hall, everything to Vietnam. So we had good food there, actually. And living in the graveyard, we had good food. And they had made me a big sheet cake because I was getting short and getting ready to pull out of Vietnam, and had a big tank on it. And it said, "Happy birthday, short timer." Sit there and cry like a baby. So so we had cake and beer.
Sounds like a pretty good birthday.
Yeah, it was really great because I was getting ready to turn 21, I believe. when I was getting, I think I was getting ready to turn 21. So they made me a big Battalion Bakery made me a big sheet cake, and that's what the buddies do for you, the enlisted guys that you work with, But as far as we had officers at night would get in their little group, and we had one colonel that would come sit with the enlisted men. Now that colonel, you'll follow him to hell, because you knew where he was coming from, you knew that you could trust him. But these officers over here, sitting in the officers club and not even bother to come over to say hello to you or whatever, you wouldn't trust him as far as you could throw him. But this colonel, you had his back and he had yours.
Yeah, there's something that I've been hearing a lot lately, and there's a book I've been wanting to read called Tribe, and it's the premise is that that human beings aren't meant to be so spread out or individual, right? It's like in a group of like 50 to 250 people, and that's really when you get that sense of purpose and that sense of meaning, and that what you contribute really matters, And I was curious to ask you this because I've heard it from some other people, is that not necessarily do you miss the environment, but do you miss being around the guys?
No, not really.
No,
but if war broke out in the United States, I'd want to go fight with a Marine.
Yeah.
I'd want to stand next to a Marine. I wouldn't want to stand, because I had friends that went into the Army, brothers that went in the Army, and their discipline level was a lot less than what the Marine Corps discipline level is. And I would want to, I'd go fight, and I'd want to fight next to a Marine.
Yeah.
And they got the saying, Semper Fi, Semper Fidelis, which means always faithful. You're always faithful to the United States Marine Corps. And I got an opportunity to see the wall when it came, the Vietnam Wall, when it came here to Toledo. And there were two Marines that were showing the wall, and not in uniform. They were retired Marines. And you got hugs, and they said, "I love you, man." And you just tear up. It's just something. And anytime you see a Marine, you see a Marine hat or a Semper Fidelis hat or whatever, you instantly can strike up a conversation. You have something in common. You have that bond, just like a police officer, fire department.
Yeah.
You have that bond with the people you work with.
That common ground.
That's
and you're proud. You're proud.
Yeah, and you're definitely proud. No matter what we went through, no matter the asses that we had to deal with in the upper ranks, you're still proud to be that United States Marine. It's pretty cool.
So when you got out and you got home, did you feel like did it take a while to kind of get your wheels going again?
Any loud bang, you was on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with like, were you waking up in the middle of the night?
No, I didn't have. I didn't have nightmares because the night that we were mortared, I'd seen one guy being carried out by a friend of mine, and he was pretty much blown to pieces, and they was getting him to a helicopter for evacuation, and went through about a pack to 2 packs of cigarettes in about an hour. Just you're shaking. You really start to shake bad after you get hit.
Do those visuals ever come back or anything?
No, not really.
Not anymore.
I can remember them, but
right.
It doesn't bother me. I was sent there to do a job, and I did my job, and come home. I didn't have PTSD or.
Do you think you were one of the more fortunate ones?
Yeah.
Not as far as living, but I mean just not having so many of what other people went through or had to deal with or still.
Yeah, they may have
with.
fought day in, day out.
Yeah.
Day after day they were under attack or something, and we didn't have that. Well, to say more about the powers to be, we landed a battalion of Marines all the tanks. I had a Jeep, a radio Jeep. And there's no docks in Da Nang like the movie show. And there's no girls waiting for you on the beach. It was an amphibious landing on the beach at Da Nang. And we drove down next to the Da Nang Air Base down Highway 1, which is one of the most volatile areas in Da Nang, with no ammunition. A battalion of Marines with not one bullet. And drove 10 miles through the boonies to the graveyard and didn't get issued ammunition till the next day.
Wow.
That's nuts.
That's scary.
Now, like I said, I'm an expert rifleman and pistol, both. If anybody should have ammunition, I should have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't have any.
That had to have been scary.
It's scary as hell. We're in a combat zone with no ammunition and going through one of the most volatile areas in Da Nang, South Vietnam.
Mm.
They could have wiped out a battalion of Marines in a heartbeat.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's stupidity.
Yeah.
That's just plain ass stupidity.
Yeah, and going back to the being proud and, you know, standing for something, it's, you know, that brings up the whole football situation of kneeling during you know, I understand that, you know, freedom of speech, people can protest, but I feel like what the national anthem stands for and why they play it at games, I feel like it symbolizes the reason why you're able to be at a football game, to be a professional football player, to be at any sport or anything like that is because of the sacrifices that were made, is the reason why we're able to have these, you know, these extracurricular activities that you can do and not have to deal with it, you know, any bullshit, is because of those sacrifices. And that's why I feel it's being played. And to take advantage of that situation the way that they are, I mean, I understand that you have a voice, but that's not the time and place to do it.
It's not the
and that's
venue.
what pisses me off.
Yeah, it's not the venue to do it, but they're playing to a large crowd because they're being televised. You got 100,000 or so people in the stands, so they can take a kneel and protest. Which I understand now, it's changed from this to this to this to this. The protest keeps changing.
Nobody even knows what it is anymore.
Yeah, they don't know what it is, but I think it's very disrespectful to every combat veteran, every World War I, World War II veteran, Korean, whatever, that's died fighting for this country. I see on the internet, I've seen people disrespect the flag, burning it, standing on it. And I say to other people, you take that flag and go to Washington, D.C. and stand in front of the Capitol, call everybody out, all the White House staff, everybody, all the politicians, burn that flag, wipe your ass with that flag, stomp on that flag. You're going to be lucky if you get one person to say something to you. They don't care. They could care less. Bring the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the United States Marines. Draw them all together. Wipe your ass with it, burn it, stomp on it. You're going to get the worst ass whipping you ever had in your life. You're going to stomp your ass into the ground. Because that flag means something to the military. When in World War II, when you took ground, you planted the American flag. You're fighting under that flag. You're fighting for your country. And for these guys, these overpaid babies, to take a knee and say, I'm being mistreated, or my fellow man black is being mistreated, get off your damn knees and go do something about it. Go to Chicago, where they got multiple killings, and take some time, go to Chicago and do something about that. Educate the kids, help these kids out so they're not joining gangs and whatever. But do something. Don't sit there and take a knee and say, you know, this is in protest of police brutality on blacks.
Or any uninformed race.
Yeah.
Of wherever, because it's coming from everywhere. I mean,
Sure.
I mean, the black players are prominent in kneeling right now, but it's, you know, the black on black violence in Chicago and the neighborhoods that need to be cleaned up that are primarily of color, and you know, but there's also white people there. There's also Hispanics. There's also it's informing people and letting them know to make the right decision. And is a protest gonna do it? I mean, it could bring attention, but there has to be action behind it.
It turns me off, and it turns a lot of other people off.
Well,
the
me,
protest.
Like I'm not a football fan, but when I saw that they were kneeling, I didn't care what for. I mean, they could be kneeling for their grandmother. I refuse to watch a football game, you know, of my choice of turning a football game on. If a game was already on, okay, I'd watch it, but I refuse to turn a game on because my majority of my family has come from a military background. So that's disrespectful to me, even though I'm not in the military, but I know what it means to you and to my stepdad and to my real dad and to everybody who's been in the military. And that's why it pisses me off. But I feel like the flag has just become so materialized nowadays too. I mean,
it's just a piece of cloth.
Exactly, and I think what pissed me off even more too was that we were at a parade years back, but we were at a parade and they were handing out these little mini flags.
Yeah.
And I took the mini flag and I looked at it and it said "Made in China" on it. And right there, I just go, "This isn't what it's. This isn't what it's supposed to be."
Right.
I'm not supposed to be waving a flag, American flag that says "Made in China"
Yeah.
on it. And we should not only be proud of where we're from and our country, but we should also be just proud to produce things out of here and be able to I don't know what's wrong. I just feel like there's so much now that's materialized, and I feel like everybody's attention is in so many different places, which has given us podcasts and art and all this other things. But I feel like everybody's out for the quick buck. Everybody's out to make it quick and fast, and there's no patience anymore, and there's no attention to detail. Everybody just wants to get it done. Everybody wants to do it. Everything is so satisfactory right now. I need it done. Everybody's attention span has shrank, and I feel like back then when you were a kid and everything, I feel like that's all you had was your attention to things, because you didn't have all the distractions that we have nowadays. And sometimes I think about it, and sometimes I wish I grew up in something like that, to where it really kind of made you use your imagination and come up with different ways to entertain yourself or things to do. But then sometimes I'm glad I kind of came up to where I am, because I'm somewhat tech savvy, and and I've been able to play paintball and travel the world and see things. And but I think that's how it goes, in every generation too, is that Tiff's grandma, she goes, "Well, I wouldn't be addicted to those phones, and I wouldn't do this, and I would do." Well, I was like, well, you know what? If nowadays, if there wasn't the internet and all you had was a wooden wheel and a stick, that's what the popular thing would be. If back then you guys had cell phones, that's what the popular thing would be, and you would do it. And that's what time does, right? That's what, as time goes on, technology grows because human beings think differently. Everybody has a different way of looking at things, and that's why we have eternal knowledge in our hands at the click of a button. That's why you can ask Alexa, that comes on over there. That's why you can do that. It's because there are so many different people out there with different thoughts, and I don't know where I'm going with this tangent.
Well, I think you got a good point. Back when I grew up, the kids all played together. You didn't have the kid sitting at home playing with his cell phone or playing the video game or whatever. It was all out playing together. So you had more interconnection with everybody. Neighbors knew everybody. Back then, you didn't walk on somebody's grass.
Yeah.
You walked on your grass, you got home, you got your butt beat because the neighbor called your mom and dad and said, he cut across my grass.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't walk on somebody's grass.
Respect.
Just respect.
Yeah.
And because the kids were all, the neighbors knew everybody, you knew each other, the kids all knew each other. You had neighborhoods. You don't have neighborhoods anymore. You have individuals living in individual houses. You don't know your neighbor. I knew within one city block, there were 50 kids. We all played hide and go seek. We played baseball. We played football, whatever. But in one block, it was 50 kids. Mm. Well, our house and the house across the street made 25 of them because the neighbor across the street had 15 kids. So we never had a problem playing ball out in front of the house.
That's a whole football game right there between,
But, and so everybody knew everybody, and you got along with everybody. You weren't fighting with I can't ever remember anybody fighting with neighbors, kids fighting with kids, or neighbors fighting with neighbors, anything like you have today. Mm-hmm. Like I said, everybody's an individual today because they've got their own interest, where you had a community interest back in the day. Yeah. During the 50s and the 60s, the period that I grew up in.
Yeah. See, and I think too with nowadays with the internet, it's weird because everybody wants to be so individual. Everybody has an Instagram or Facebook account, which is very individual, but it's public, and you put stuff on there to go public so you feel connected with everybody. So it's like this false sense of connectivity, I feel, because it's not really it's not really a face-to-face conversation. It's there's this wall, this glass wall there, that you're getting this interaction with, but you're not.
You say now you can say negative things because
from behind a keyboard.
Yeah, because you're hiding behind that keyboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's huge to me. It's like I don't, and everybody has that capability. Mm-hmm. They can just do that, and there's no consequences to it. And thinking about the kids, and I especially have been thinking about it now with Cooper, who's almost 2 years old. But even thinking about Kira, Riley, and Maddie, my sister's kids, what they're going through right now,
mm-hmm.
And the stories that Kira, who's 12, gonna be 13, the stories that she's told me about some of the things that she's experienced already of she's getting ready to go into high school, that she's experienced with some of her friends and the things that she's seen already. And I'm like, I didn't see that until I was 17, 18 years old and having to deal with the things that she's had to deal with. And I think it's because of the internet, and it's because of these parents that are letting their kids have this landmine of information.
Yeah.
And you can go anywhere with it, and I think it gives these kids this false sense of confidence and this false
mm-hmm.
sense of knowledge because, well, I saw it online, so I'm desensitized with it, or I saw this, or I saw that, or it doesn't affect me, or and it brings, I feel like, everybody's respect level down for each other, and it's scary because I feel like we're so technologically advanced nowadays. And everybody's pushing for everybody's voice gets heard,
mm-hmm.
and everybody's opinion gets heard, and everybody's pictures are seen. But I feel like we're going backwards.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, I feel like that is going to fracture, and everybody's not going to know what to do because we won't have the internet. The internet will go down. Mm-hmm. Imagine if the internet went down, or for more than a day, or if I heard talks of the internet being restricted to certain websites, which could be a possibility, or like it's almost somebody's freedom now that they feel like they're entitled to won't be there. Mm. And what did everybody before us do that? I feel like everybody's so focused on the future of what could be or what should be. Nobody looks back and goes, well, human beings are so much more capable of surviving on basics than what people think. I think everybody needs that attention now so much when, your thoughts, people go crazy. Obviously, there's people out there that go crazy with their thoughts and
Oh,
everything,
absolutely.
but you could just, having a conversation with somebody, a face-to-face conversation instead of a phone call or a text, or you have to think about it. It can go a long way, I feel. And, I've been thinking about it more and more. I've been trying to, I want to raise awareness for nursing homes. Just because Tiff worked in a nursing home, she kind of saw it firsthand of the mistreatment and everything. And those are our grandparents. Those are our great grandparents, and those are people who have paved the way for where we are today. And I feel like so much of the past is being forgotten because we're so focused on the future. I don't know where I'm going with that, but I respect the hell out of you, and I feel like that a lot of it is so much. There's so much disrespect now, and I want you to know that I look up to you.
Well, I appreciate that.
And and I'm so grateful for what you did for not only the family, for the country, for everybody that you've been involved with. You've been a great, just figure to look up to, going back to when you coached football. And I learned a lot from you, even though you might not think it, but you were a figure that I looked up to too, and kind of wanted to follow a path behind. So I just wanted to thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. And I looked up to my dad. I would play Friday night football, set up the music system, dance at the sock hop, go to Don's Drive-In afterwards, get a hamburger and a pop, head home 11:30 at night. Dad be sitting in the living room. Come on up back. I got something I want to show you, help you out with your game a little bit. What dad does that? Mm-hmm. They were at the game. Aunts and uncles, cousins, everybody come to the game to watch you play. And then you come home and there's Dad sitting there, and come on out back. And Dad was all city at Wade High School. Brother Arnie was all city at Wade High School.
Yeah.
And so I had some people to look up to too. And when we were playing grade school football, we'd go watch the Wade football games. We got in as grade school teams, and admission was free. Mm-hmm. You sat as a group. You weren't running all over the stands playing and all this goofy stuff you see today.
Yeah.
You sat and you watched the football game. You had discipline. And now it's just do as you please.
Well, yeah, I want to, being a father now, I mean, that's what I want to, I want to take that time and set aside those moments, and I want to cherish those moments of, even though he's 2 right now, he's still learning and everything, but it's just some of the small things. I mean, he's a monkey, where monkey see, monkey do kind of a thing. So, but it's, it starts there, and it starts doing the right thing now.
Well, just sitting reading a book with him, or sit and watch a kid's movie with him or something. Anytime where you can spend time with your child.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with my circumstances, I had difficulties trying to raise my children because of the divorces that I've gone through and so forth. So it made it kind of tough. But now that I look back at it and what I could have done and what I didn't do, I wish I could have done a whole lot more. But
you have to look, I mean, and I look at that too, and I think about stuff that I may feel like I regret, or look back and I go, well, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
You learn from it.
Yeah. Every choice is a learning, and I have to be thankful, for what I have today, and the relationships that I have today, and whether you want to thank your God or whoever you want to, I'm thankful that I have those connections.
You got a good family.
Yeah.
You got a good mother. You got brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, whatever.
That care.
I drove up to Huron for the sibling get together, and I went to pull out of the driveway and had no brakes in my car. My brake line broke.
Jeez.
Squirting brake fluid all over the place. instantly Donnie says, "Take my car, so you can get home."
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't an hour later or 2 hours later. It was right then. Just take my car and go on home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we are. You know, when you need help, we're there.
Yeah.
And so many, I tell people, we went on a cruise with family. We went down to Kentucky to the state dock and rented a boat for 7 days with Norma and Darlene and Mom and a group of us. And what are you doing going with your family? Why are you going? Because we have fun.
Yeah.
We laugh, we kid each other, we joke, we cry together. It's family. And they go, I don't do none of that stuff with my family. And that's sad.
It is.
Yeah, it's very sad.
It is, and I think the lessons that you learn from your siblings and from your family makes you a better person.
Sure.
In the end, because you start treating other people like family,
Mm-hmm.
and then now they feel better about themselves. And I tell people this all the time. Not everybody grows up in a bigger family or in good circumstances, but nothing positive comes out of a negative. So if you have to just look at the positive, and you have to be positive as much as you can, because it is contagious, and I'm very grateful to have the family that I do, and to have you as a grandfather, and
Well, you got to treat other people the way you want to be treated. I work for a millionaire, multi-millionaire, matter of fact, and I kid with you, I kid with Dickie and Carrie all the time, whoever. I kid with him. He's not up here. He's right here at my level.
Yeah.
And I call him names. He calls me every morning.
Yeah.
We talk every morning.
You guys have a relationship.
And he'll say something
friendship.
derogatory to me, and I'll say something derogatory to him, and he'll sit there and laugh. But when I first met him, he was, his mother called me, wanted to have some work done. She says, "I'm Paul Hokanato's mother." I said, "I feel sorry for you." Wow, the phone went quiet. I went, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that." But we tease back and forth. I pick up paychecks at his wife's office. She's a chiropractor. I have to go into her office. Mostly black people working in her office. I have to hug everybody before I get my paycheck. I'm serious. I mean, I go in and I treat them nicely. They treat me nicely. I get all kinds of hugs. The cleaning lady that works for Paul, I get hugs from her. Every time I see her, it's, "Oh, geez, I haven't seen you in a while," and you got a hug.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know why it is, but I just treat people the way I want to be treated, and I get good stuff in return.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way it should be.
Yeah. And I like it. I think it's pretty neat.
I like being liked.
Yeah, I like being liked. I don't like being disliked.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure Tiff's probably wondering where the hell I am. But I want to thank you again so much for sitting down with me and kind of opening up a little bit and being able to conversate.
Yeah, there's a lot more I'd like to have covered with you, but times are restricted, right. And
we can always do another one.
Yeah, and I still got to do payroll yet tonight.
Yeah, and I still got to eat dinner and everything, and so.
And no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed your questions, and hopefully filled in some things for you. Helped you out.
Absolutely, and we'll definitely do this again and
show you how crazy the world is, and how things are kind of goofy out there.
Yeah, but no, I enjoyed it. But
let me tell you one more story.
Yeah, absolutely.
About when I got thrown in the Brigand boot camp. I got set back 2 weeks, and now I'm a brig rat. They're called a brig rat now. I get marched over to my new unit to they were Quonset huts. Knock on the door, "Sir, Private Cowell reporting is ordered, sir." Grabbed me by the shirt, and in I went and slammed against wall lockers. My sea bag got tossed up in the air. All my clothes were all over the place. All my paperwork's flying everywhere, and I'm just bouncing off the lockers everywhere because I'm they call them shitbird. Yeah, I was a shitbird, brig rat, whatever you want to. Was the names for you?
Yeah.
Sergeant sitting down at the desk, picks up my paperwork and sits it in front of him. High scholastic scores, high physical readiness scores, high rifle scores. He goes, wait a minute. Now, these same guys that beat the shit out of me in a battalion of Marines that go through boot camp, the top Marine in that will get a free set of dress blues and a gold medallion for being the top Marine out of that battalion of Marines. Mm-hmm. They went to the commandant of the Marine Corps fighting to get me that dress blues and that gold medallion, but my brig time stopped me. I was the 7th Marine in Marine Corps history to be promoted from private to private first class after serving brig time in the boot camp.
Really?
Yeah, I was the 7th Marine in Marine Corps history.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty neat. And those guys fought to get me that. The same guys that beat the hell out of me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's that camaraderie. That's that.
Yeah.
That little tight knit group feel.
Because usually the guys that went to the brig were, they didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be in there in the first place, And they usually get bounced out. But yeah, these guys fought for me and tried to get me to dress blues and try to get me the gold medallion, but my brig time stopped it. Otherwise, I would have received the dress blues and the gold medallion.
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason.
Huh?
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. But when I got, as a matter of fact, there's a picture in the Pete section. I've got it from back then. It shows me getting my new rank, moving up from a private first class or a private to a private first class.
Do you have any pictures?
Hmm?
Do you have any pictures?
Mm-hmm.
You mind if we take a look at them?
Yeah. Okay,
all right, everybody. We're going to get going. Thank you for listening. And, thanks for tuning in.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Another big thank you to our sponsors. Dr. Paintball, like I said, PLAYON at checkout, and you will receive a free bonus gift when you purchase anything over at Dr. Paintball. Also to Carbon, who has the CC line coming out, the thermal pods, a backpack series, a gear bag series, and don't forget about their packs are awesome, their base layers are awesome, and if you use the promo code capital TPOP at checkout, you will receive 10% off your entire order. And if you or your team is looking for a sponsorship next year, make sure you hit me up, Carl at carbonpaintball.com. We will get you going. We will talk and see what you all need and hook you guys up. Brought to you by Charm City Paintball as well. Like I said, we have a collaboration with the Pack Bands. If you guys are interested in them, make sure you hit me up on the Instagrams or the Facebook, and we can get you guys with some of those. He also has a Facebook as well, Charm City Facebook, and headbands, head wraps, all kinds of cool stuff, all kinds of unique stuff over there at Charm City. And last, Planet Eclipse, who has the coolest mechanical marker out there right now, the G-Mech. I don't even know if that's the official name for it, but make sure you guys check it out, planeteclipse.com. And to all of you out there, thank you again so much for listening. Very greatly appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, have any guests that you would like me to have on, I'm going to have more episodes coming out very, very soon. Please get a hold of me, Carl Microwave Markowski on Facebook and Carl_Markowski on Instagram. Thank you all so much. Greatly appreciate it. And we will see you again here soon on the Playing On podcast. See ya.